Look, I know that title sounds like a direct attack, doesn't it? Playing video games makes you immature. But hold on, that's exactly the provocation. Is gaming truly a sign of immaturity? Or is the problem how society still views the act of playing? Today, I want to discuss this head on, because there's much more behind that phrase than meets the eye. I'm Matthew, and the video is about to begin.
Let's go!
Give me a sec.
Come on!
It's funny to think that some people still associate maturity with giving up hobbies, as if being an adult meant living solely for bills, spreadsheets, and Zoom meetings. The phrase was meant to grab attention, but it sounds kind of out of place when we consider how much the real world has turned into a giant grind system, just without the fun and without the worthy loot at the end of the day. Dude, you spend 8 hours a day farming XP in real life, whether by stretching your workday, lifting weights at the gym, or trying to level up in corporate networking. And I'm the one who's immature for doing a raid at 3 a.m.? Deep down, we're all playing the same game, only the visuals and the rewards change. While one person is farming social status, the other is seeking a legendary sword. While one is trying to hit the quarterly target, the other is hunting the perfect drop. Yet, ironically, in the virtual world, the feedback is instant, and the effort truly turns into something tangible, an item, a rank, an achievement. What many people forget is that gaming is also a way to cope with daily life. It's a smart way to clear your head while keeping your brain engaged. There is discipline, planning, and even resource management in any elaborate game. The digital grind ends up being a reflection of the adult routine itself, only with a much clearer sense of progress. Instead of a boss who rarely acknowledges the effort, the game gives you that level up sound, that shimmer in your inventory. So, using the immaturity argument is losing the chance to realize how much video games translate life in a fairer way. They transform effort into results, and dedication into visible rewards. Gaming doesn't make you immature. It reminds you of what the correct loop of things should be. You strive, you grow, you gain something. If the real world had drops as good as the games do, maybe people would stop calling gamers immature. We live in an era where games like Red Dead Redemption 2 can touch people in ways that many TV productions can't even manage. Raise your hand if you never cried at the end of that game, because there's a heavy story, complex characters, and an emotional load that greatly changes the view on what mature entertainment is. Now, why do we accept it as normal to cry over soap operas, which often repeat tired formulas, shallow characters, and exaggerated dramas? Society seems to have a strange standard of maturity that values crying over superficial characters and devalues tears for rich, sensitive stories in video games. The narrative depth that games like Red Dead 2, The Last of Us, and others deliver goes far beyond what 90% of the series that our aunts watch can provide. Yet there is still this prejudice that the only valid crying is what comes from the TV screen. Games tell stories that you live, feel, and decide, like an interactive book where every choice matters, every relationship is important. This brings an emotional connection that is difficult to replicate in passive narratives, such as traditional soap operas or series. The immersion has a greater impact on emotions because you are there, in control, experiencing the losses, the victories, and the turns of the story. This is not the stuff of children or immature people. It is a type of art that demands and provokes deep feelings. Therefore, this label of immaturity, based on retrograde prejudice, ignores the artistic and narrative growth of games. They are capable of moving, teaching, and making us reflect as much as any classic work of literature or cinema. What many people lack is the recognition of these experiences as legitimate and profound, and no less worthy of empathy and respect just because they come from a controller in your hands, and not a remote control.
Amidst of crash of world.
Playing Civilization, for example, is not just clicking. It's planning diplomacy, managing resources, analyzing economic strategies, and making decisions that impact an entire empire. Meanwhile, in real life, many people get lost in something as basic as filing their income tax return. So, who is truly showing a lack of maturity? There is a certain hypocrisy in this judgment because maturity, in practice, is more about responsibility and the ability to solve complex problems, and not about stopping having fun or not knowing how to play. Playing strategic games demands critical thinking, organization, and patience, all qualities that are pillars of adult life. If controlling a gigantic virtual economy in Civilization is not being responsible, then the definition of maturity must be completely revised. Furthermore, the idea that being an adult is synonymous with only dealing with boring bureaucracy and endless obligations ignores that adults also seek entertainment, challenges, and ways to exercise their minds. Video games, especially the complex ones, require fine coordination of these skills, and the fact that many tutorialize, analyze statistics, and do long-term planning shows that immaturity is not in playing, but in not recognizing what this process represents. So the label of immaturity thrown at those who like video games is an outdated prejudice. Adult life has its own grinds and bureaucracies, which are sometimes much harder and less rewarding than a well-made game. If controlling a virtual empire and making decisions that can lead to victory or defeat doesn't make you immature, then perhaps the concept of maturing needs to be rethought from scratch. In the end, I know how to lose gracefully. And you freak out when you lose at poker. Who's the immature one, really? This is the perfect final slap in this whole discussion about gamers being immature. In the world of gaming, you learn early on to say GG WP after an epic beatdown, to respect the opponent, analyze what went wrong, and press reset for the next round. Yet, in real life, I've seen 40-year-old adults turn into whiny children at poker or billiards, cursing and giving up at the first defeat. Who has really grown up here? Personally, this good game culture has saved me from so many pointless arguments. I've lost insane raids in WoW, died 100 times to an Elden Ring boss, and I always leave with a WP for the guys who destroyed me. That builds resilience and humility that the corporate world envies. Gamer communities have become synonymous with online education. Light-hearted post-game memes, tips for noobs, and zero room for eternal drama. It's a school of sportsmanship that reality shows and social media have never taught. Meanwhile, adult life is full of people who can't stand losing a promotion, an election, or even a debate at a barbecue. Freaking out, blocking, and holding a grudge. Gamers? We laugh at our own noobness, evolve, and come back stronger because we know that defeat is just the setup for a comeback. This collective resilience makes our community one of the most united and mature on the internet, full of mutual support instead of gratuitous hate. You judge those who play Battlefield, but you spend $80 every weekend to watch your team lose. Okay, champ. Deep down, it's pure hypocrisy. Adult hobbies like the NFL, barbecue, and clubbing are socially accepted, but they cost a fortune in tickets, meat, and expensive entry fees, with no guarantee of fun or victory in the end. Video games, on the other hand, deliver an absurd cost-benefit that none of those hobbies can beat. With $80 on a game like Battlefield 6, you get hundreds of hours of entertainment, free updates, global communities, and an addictive loop that mixes strategy, skill, and online socialization. While the barbecue is gone in a day and football depends on the team's performance, the game stays in your library forever, ready to revisit and improve your rank without spending any more money. It's funny how society romanticizes impulsive spending on expensive hobbies and calls someone immature for choosing something accessible and profound. Clubbing? You spend on Uber, drinks, and waiting in line just to end up tired and hungover. Barbecue? Hours in the kitchen for everyone to complain about the meat. Video games give you total control. Play when you want, with whom you want, and even build real skills like reflexes and tactics, all for a fraction of the price. I died 47 times to the same boss and didn't give up. You quit your diet on the third day. Persistence is a child's thing, right? In video games, every death is a practical lesson. You analyze the error, adjust the strategy, and come back stronger, developing a tolerance for frustration that few people have in real life. Gamers accumulate learning from mistakes in a way that becomes instinct. Fail, adapt, win. This resilience is not just mental. Studies show that those who play regularly improve reflexes and coordination, even after 30. A 30-year-old gamer has sharp timing to dodge insane attacks, while the 30-year-old gym goer has knees destroyed from forcing it too much at the gym, without the patience to evolve slowly. It's personal to me. I've spent nights grinding to beat a boss that humiliated me, and that taught me more about not giving up than any cheap social media motivation. Frustration turns into fuel, and the trial and error reward cycle forges a mentality that can withstand real pressure, like tight deadlines or setbacks at work. Adults who judge this as immature probably give up easily because they never trained this skill in hardcore mode. Ultimately, labeling gamers as immature is envy disguised as superiority. We have resilience, constant learning, and reflexes that defy age, qualities that define true maturity. If persisting after 47 deaths is not adult, then what is? Giving up at the first twinge of pain?
Who aged worse? The guy who spends the day on the couch watching TV, or the gamer who maintains sharp reflexes, spot-on motor coordination, and teenage reaction time, even after 40? Studies show that games improve cognition, reduce the risk of mental decline, and even help brain health more than sedentary adult routines full of stress and empty happy hours. Personally, I see this in practice. 35-year-old gamer friends still dominate insane combos in fighting games, with precise hands and laser focus, while mature adults struggle to type fast on their phones without errors. Games force constant adaptation, dodge, aim, timing, keeping the body and mind in shape, unlike those who age with bad knees from amateur soccer or office burnout. It's motor coordination that resists time, something Netflix and beer will never deliver. Gaming also takes care of mental health in a subtle way. It releases endorphins with victories, trains patience with grinding, and creates communities that combat loneliness better than expensive clubs. I've seen mature gym-goers quit the gym due to injuries, while I, by grinding raids, improve my sleep, reduce anxiety, and come out smarter for real life. The person who ages worse is the one who swaps challenge for laziness, disguised as maturity. I, for example, speak 4 languages, just to swear at foreigners in CS. You can barely order a beer in English at the beach. Online gaming ends up being a natural and fun school where we learn slang, accents, cultural expressions, and, of course, languages, in a way that many people can't in formal courses. What many people don't understand is that fluency in games is real. You need to quickly understand commands, strategies, and conversations in various languages to do well. And this breaks that fear of speaking incorrectly or exposing yourself. More than just memorizing word by word, the game forces you to get into the rhythm of the language, like an accelerated, pressure-free exchange program. This develops communication skills more naturally than many traditional methods. The learning is so practical and contextual that it ends up being long-lasting. While others spend years in books without speaking a word, gamers dive into global communities, exchange ideas, make friends, and even get into cultures that TV and school don't always show. This brings a deep cultural and linguistic knowledge that goes beyond mere social decorum and becomes a real, useful, and fast experience. So, diminishing a hobby of this type by saying it causes immaturity is ignoring how much gaming broadens linguistic and cultural horizons. Playing video games can be a passport to the world.
showing that maturity is not just about knowing conjugation, but about communicating in the real world. Even by swearing in CS, because that's also part of global culture. While you age watching reality shows, I age deciding the fate of humanity in Mass Effect. There, every moral choice has real weight. Sacrifice an ally to save a galaxy, or spare a traitor who could cost billions of lives. This forces deep reflection on loyalty, power, and humanity, something that reality shows only offer secondhand embarrassment and manufactured fights. Personally, Mass Effect marked me because the consequences come back to haunt you. An NPC you save becomes a ghost in subsequent missions, changing alliances and entire endings. It's interactive narrative that puts you at the center of moral chaos, training empathy and long-term vision in a way that soap operas or Big Brother never come close to. Watching passively ages the mind with boredom. Deciding fates activates the brain to think about what is right or wrong in real life. Games like this elevate entertainment to practical philosophy, with ramifications that last dozens of hours and make you question personal values. No predictable scripts or stereotypical villains. Here, the hero can be the monster depending on your calls. Reality shows feign human drama, but are just editing for ratings. No agency, no true impact. Calling a gamer immature is underestimating how video games build emotional maturity through complex choices. They make you grow by dealing with dilemmas that TV only watches from afar. If deciding the fate of worlds is not aging with wisdom, then what is? Sitting on the couch laughing at others' humiliation? In the end, I know how to lose gracefully, and you freak out when you lose at poker. Who's the immature one, really? This is the perfect final slap in this whole discussion about gamers being immature. In the world of gaming, you learn early on to say GGWP after an epic beatdown, to respect the opponent, analyze what went wrong, and press reset for the next round. Yet, in real life, I've seen 40-year-old adults turn into whiny children at poker or billiards, cursing and giving up at the first defeat. Who has really grown up here? Personally, this good game culture has saved me from so many pointless arguments. I've lost insane raids in WoW, died 100 times to an Elden Ring boss, and I always leave with a WP for the guys who destroyed me. That builds resilience and humility that the corporate world envies. Gamer communities have become synonymous with online education. Light-hearted post-game memes, tips for noobs, and zero room for eternal drama. It's a school of sportsmanship that reality shows and social media have never taught. Meanwhile, adult life is full of people who can't stand losing a promotion, an election, or even a debate at a barbecue. Freaking out, blocking, and holding a grudge. Gamers? We laugh at our own noobness, evolve, and come back stronger because we know that defeat is just the setup for a comeback. This collective resilience makes our community one of the most united and mature on the internet, full of mutual support instead of gratuitous hate.